All righty. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming to our Sober October event here in Alignable. We have four amazing recovery coaches and recovery and sobriety coaches and a couple of additional guests. And those of you who weren't able to make it, we hope that you can get some value from this recording. I think I don't know if I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourselves or if I'll introduce you. Do you want to how about we just get each of you, I'll call on each of you to quickly introduce yourself in like a brief sentence. I'll go around the circle and then we can start with the questions for the panel. So Laura, if you wanted to introduce yourself for a sec.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Laura Hawkins. My business is Laura Hawkins Recovery Coaching, and I work with people who are considering recovery, maybe have been in recovery or coming back or are new to recovery. And basically what I do is act as a partner and a guide to help them build a strategy for a sober life or a life, recovering from their addictions.
Thank you. Anthony, recovery coach.
Yes, so I'm in Vancouver. I'm a holistic recovery coach, which means I really approach the whole person and all the various aspects of their life in any place from considering detox. So I assist with, everything from at-home detox through rehab, whether they go to rehab or not. I was actually a rehab consultant for 20 years, so I'm very familiar with that. And then most importantly, what happens after. So, how do the answer to the question of how do I live either sober or with a significant less amount of drug of choice or no drug of choice, and what's that going to look like? But 90% of it is not about alcohol or drugs. It's really about life and lifestyle, and that seems to be the focus of my entire practice is how to get comfortable in one's own skin and figure out the meaning of your life.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Sam.
Hey, welcome, Melanie. I am actually mostly a business coach for coaches who decided to get sober in 2020, which led me to sometimes helping others with the recovery coaching. And I mostly have a sober podcast on YouTube called Sober and Serene. So sobriety is a passion of mine, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And Michelle.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you for hosting. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Bonifiglio. I am sober Virgo woman, and I am a sobriety coach. I work for myself and as my own company, and I also work for a Sober Girls Guide. And I also do events, and I was also on 2 podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thanks very much. And we have a couple of guests here as well. Do you guys want to say hello and tell us who you are? Paul?
Hi, my name is Paul DiCunzo. My friends call me Coach Paul. I am a certified strategic strengths coach, which is based on time management principles from Stephen Covey and the Strength Finders assessment. But I've also been in recovery pretty much since 2000. And so I've helped friends that are in recovery with their, goals in terms of leveraging their strengths. But I also have a passion about, leveraging strengths in recovery. There's particularly a few of the 34 themes that I see prevalent in people in recovery. And so that kind of awareness and might be a book later. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. And Joe?
Hi, everybody. I am actually not a coach. I am Sam's business partner. I am here to support Sam. We have a business together. We created on Alignable called Coach Engage, where we teach coaches how to build authentic language using AI. Thanks for having me. And
thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. So we had devised a series of questions that I'm going to address to the panel to get us rolling and to kind of as conversation starters and to see what comes out. So the first thing that we wanted to just have everyone give their thoughts about is what are the benefits of transforming your relationship with alcohol. And where I started with Laura, I'm going to start with Anthony this time.
Okay, so the biggest benefit is that you get, or for me, is I was able to have a lot more me time and, working out what's my life all about? What am I here to do? And without the distraction or the excuse of headache and or got to get to the next, drinking event and, partying with the boys. Chasing the girls, and all that stuff. I got a chance to make this life meaningful. So that for me was the big one. And the next will probably be, I'll roll that out as, we talk, more on, but that's the big one.
That's the big one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, for you. And the people that you've worked with. It's not just your own personal benefit, but also globally.
Dropping the wine habit, I can see now, like I'm 3 years in, so I have the clarity now to see how much even the thought of drinking overtook my life. Everything about my life was managed around my addiction. I can see it now. I'd either wake up with a hangover and try to lessen it and think, oh, it's not so bad. And, I'm just a normal drinker. And I would be planning my day to what I needed to get done to get to wine o'clock. So
Right.
The biggest thing for me is I don't have any of that anymore. And my life is much better overall.
It's like being free.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot more
Yeah.
open. Yeah. A lot more open.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Michelle.
Okay, so I just want to confirm that you're asking that first question, what are 2 keys to successfully transforming your relationship with alcohol? Or you're talking about number 3, which is the benefits?
Okay, sorry. I have the
That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I just want to make sure that I'm answering the correct question.
Yes,
that
we're
is
looking at
correct,
the benefits, the benefits of transforming.
Right. Okay. So
Relationship. We're starting with
a
the
new
benefits.
life. Okay, so a new life.
A new life.
Helping others, advocating for others, time, money, freedom, trusting yourself, finding your self-worth, and being proud of yourself. I try to do as many as I could. I mean, my whole thing was when I was drinking, I had no idea that the drinking was taking up so much of my life, that all this time I wanted to do a half marathon, I wanted to do a triathlon, I wanted to do all of these things in my life. And it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I was like, oh, that's what was causing it. And that was the problem. And then once I got sober, that's when I realized that. So, I mean, so much. I mean, there's so many that I can't even think of, like what Sam said, I can't even think of one reason on why to drink, because there's just so many amazing benefits to it.
Awesome. Thank you. Laura. Oh, you're muted.
There, I'm back.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm here. There's so many benefits for me. I think one of them was just not waking up with fear and dread every morning. What did I do the night before? Who did I say what to? Just because I was a hardcore blackout drinker, and that's the way I rolled. And just not having to like fight the disease, like have it be exhausting. Because as I think Michelle just said, always thinking about it. When can I get it? When can I drink it? What's the appropriate time? I got to do it when I'm off work. It was just the chaos. And also getting back some of my relationships that really had just fallen by the wayside due to my pretty bad attitude and inability to really show up. And I think not being so exhausted just by being in my own head. There's nothing I would go back to. It's pretty easy.
It's been a long time for you, right? Like 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
Yeah.
I got sober in my mid-20s, and there just wasn't another drop to drink. That's the way it rolled out for me. Just,
Hard stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So then we're going to move on.
Can I just add one actual word that people have kind of made up over the past few years that I think is right? Hangxiety. So hangover and anxiety. A lot of people talk about that, and that is something I definitely don't miss at all, is that being anxious all the time. And like
Yeah.
what Laura was saying, who do I call? Who do I have to apologize to? What did I do? Where's my credit card?
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember that from the days when I used to drink heavily when I was young. That I can remember waking up and just feeling anxious. I think it's an actual side effect of the medication. Makes you anxious for sure. So now we'll talk about what are the keys. Like if you were to pick 1, 2, 3, whatever you think, keys to being able to make this shift. Because as we know, it's not just alcohol is one of those things. It's not once you're drinking 7 days, I believe it's if you drink 7 days in a row, you've essentially established a physical addiction to the substance. It's not like some other things where it's just like pleasant or whatever. It's actually addictive. So it's a whole other level of challenge. And if you're a certain level habituated, it's become a real habit, and now you're craving it all that time and you're thinking about it, etc. Kind of feel like you can't get away from it. What are the keys to shifting that you guys either in your own lives have applied or that you work with clients to apply? The 21 days to form a habit. Yes. Thanks, Paul. Yeah. So I'm thinking that the first would be Sam will be the first one to answer this question.
For me, I had started and stopped a million times. I had, oh, I'm not going to drink this week, or I'm not going to drink today. And then, 2 days would go by, and because I functioned well in my mind, I worked, I didn't do any of the things, I didn't drink and drive, I had a business, I was a good mom. Like you say all these things to yourself, and I kept thinking, well, I'm fine and I'm healthy, so I deserve, I can just have one drink. So, you think after you get by it a couple of days. So I would just repeat the cycle. I would go a few days until there comes a point where, for me, it was just a final trigger where I woke up hungover one morning, and I literally looked at myself in the mirror and just went like, when is enough enough? Like when's it enough? And it was just, I guess, my rock bottom that day. That day was like, okay, I am going to decide this is it and do whatever it takes. And then for me, I just had to figure out habits. Like if I want to drink, what am I going to do differently? I'm not just going to try to think my way out of it, because at that point, I just kept trying to think my way out of it. And anybody that works in addictions, if you get a trigger or a craving, you cannot think your way out of it. And again, speaking for myself, I just had to do something different. So
what did you do different? What was your...
for me it was I just physically got up and I went out and walked. I traded wine for walking, and
right,
every time I wanted a drink, it was like, no, go walk. And that's all it took, was just a different behavior. And of course, a lot of, different, meditation and journaling and all the other tools that you use. However, I was determined. I was just determined.
So determination would be one of the keys, and an alternative behavior would be another key.
And the birth of my grandson.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
That was my trigger. I didn't want him to have a drunk Nana.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Okay. Michelle, what would you say are some of the keys to transforming your relationship to alcohol? Either that you teach to your clients
right away, actually wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Having that self-awareness, how it's affecting you and your loved ones, and trusting yourself and patterns. Sam was saying, like, she was trying and like, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
So you're so like upset with yourself, and you're just disgusted, and you just want to be done, and you just keep doing it over and over again. And I think it's when you're actually ready to want to do it, because no one can tell you otherwise. It's very similar to a breakup. You know, if he keeps calling you and you keep going over there to get your CD or to go pick up your shirt or something, you know, like you're going to just keep doing it until you're ready to be done.
Right.
And for me, it was, you know, figuring out what I needed. So, you know, some people need AA, some people need a coach, some people, there's so many jewels in your jewelry box and everybody's different, right? So I like to say jewels in your jewelry box instead of tools in your toolbox. But for me, my two big things were podcasts and mocktails.
Okay.
So when I finally found mocktails and I found the podcasts that resonated with me, that I was able to get on board with was those sober communities, and being honest with myself.
Community.
Do I want to continue living this life?
Right.
The answer was no.
So we've got really like podcasts, mocktails, community, I think really important point.
Yeah, I mean, self-awareness and actually wanting to do it, because without those, nothing else is going to happen.
Yeah, not someone else telling you, that's for sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Laura.
Yeah, so coming from the perspective of talking about people who are maybe considering how much they drink or don't want to drink or they don't know, I think curiosity is a huge factor. You know, just being willing to look at what it would be like not to have a drink tomorrow and not for the rest of your life. But, you know, and also being willing is another thing, to look at your life and look at honestly how it is affecting what you're doing today, your relationships, your work, whatever it is, your spare time, you know, because for me, when I came in, you know, I got sober through AA, and, you know, one of our phrases is honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. How? And that serves me today too. It would also help me. And I think, I wish there were some people on the panel looking, you know, considering their sobriety, because it really helped me to hear from other people who've been through this and their experience. So, I mean, in the beginning, someone said, I felt crazy. And someone said, don't worry, the first 90 days, you're just going to be crazy. And like, for me, that was a total relief. So I think it's sharing common experiences also.
That community piece again.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anthony. Keys to recovery, basically keys to transforming that relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, it got down to reason again, like, you know, why change? And I've spoken to about 20,000 people who had crisis, and that prompted them to call hotlines and discuss, you know, personal details with strangers, you know, me, and tell me what was going on. And I'll be very frank with you. This is the main reason people even consider quitting. It's loss or threat of loss. And that loss can be personal. I'm going to die. I'm going to lose my leg. I'm going to, you know, be on, you know, I won't be able to get in like cancer treatment because they won't allow a drunk in because they don't know how much, you know, stuff to put in me to knock me out. So loss or threat of loss. And the big one, especially for the men and also for the women, although it seemed to, for some weird reason, it seemed to come up more with men, was their kid. They wanted to be there for their kid, their family. They had a moral obligation, responsibility to their role as a man of the house or man for their kid, because oftentimes the wife or the girlfriend had already, you know, had enough of them, and they figured it's kind of over, but at least they could be there for their kids, so for the future. So again, those are the big ones, and this gets right down to the, you know, the principle AA philosophy. By the way, I've been in the alternative practice before it was alternative, and now, you know, now AA seems to be another alternative. It's not the main, in my opinion. So, but there's a commonality in that something greater than just me, you know, I, me, and my, right? You know, the Trinity, the Trinity of myself we had to go beyond that, and that's when the big changes happened. And for me, it was, it was reason. It was, and when I say reason, I mean a good something, a big enough carrot at the end of the stick to go. That's, that would be really. I really want that. That would be really cool. I would love to have that. And that's, that inspired me to not only quit, but continue to stay quit. It's been a long time for me, not quite 2 decades, but 16 years total straight edge, and over 40 off of drugs, not alcohol.
Nice. So you're saying a compelling why and an inspiring goal as keys. Like if
and the threat of the key one was the threat of loss.
That's kind of the compelling why. That's a pretty compelling why. Yeah, like, I could die.
Yeah. I never thought of a compelling why as, we'll kill you or quit alcohol. Give me a sec on that.
Let me think. But still, right? Like it can be that bad, so people don't know. So
how about no?
Yeah.
So it got that bad, actually, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the next question, I think that Michelle will be the first one to answer this one. So what are the biggest challenges that people, like the biggest pitfalls and challenges that would lead someone, like why do you need a coach? If you just need a strong why and a goal and some community, willingness, curiosity, self-honesty, and all these kind of things, why do why do you need a coach? And like, what are the pitfalls that you're going to encounter as you're going through this, or that there's a strong likelihood that you could encounter challenges? What are the big challenges, Michelle, that you
Sure.
see people having?
So the biggest thing is society, with alcohol being everywhere for people that are struggling with it. Now that I've been sober for a while, I know that it's not everywhere, but that's how I felt. And I think that society has such a big push on alcohol that it's really the only drug that is pushed, and it's accepted and it's encouraged. And it's like, oh, let's have a drink because that's the only way we're going to have fun. And for me personally, I literally thought that I would be doing nothing and just like bowling and doing puzzles. And there's nothing wrong with bowling or doing puzzles. But in my early 30s, that's what I thought. That's what I thought was going to happen if I stopped drinking. And that's not what happened at all. And I think that it's also not having a plan, right? So if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a coach and you don't have jewels in your jewelry box and you don't know what you're doing, right? And you're like, okay, I did it for a week. That's a long time. That's a long time in the very beginning. That's a long time. So let's say, okay, you're good. You have 3 or 4 days. And now without thinking, you go out to dinner with your friends. Someone offers you a drink. You're like, okay, no problem. Without those jewels in your jewelry box, such as, okay, I should have like made a plan. Right? That's what happens with my clients. If for some reason they drink, it's okay. You're learning from that, right? Like we said before, we're never saying we're never going to drink again. I still won't say that because I'm setting those small, achievable, measurable goals, right? So setting yourself up, giving yourself a plan. Okay, tonight I'm going to go hang out with Melanie and Sam, but I know that Melanie loves to drink. Right. So I know, right, that, I might have to lean on Sam a little bit more, right? Or I might need to change the discussion up, or, I need to make sure that like I have that I have a seltzer and soda. Like I might not be ready to tell Melanie where I'm at yet. Right. So that's a tool in your toolbox, right? Do you have a mocktail? Do you have an exit plan, right? So if you're driving, I have an appointment in the morning. I have to leave at 7:30, having these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yes. And also just, one of the things for me, because I did moderate for 10 months, and that was because I wasn't staying active in the sober community. I wasn't listening to the podcasts. I wasn't drinking the mocktails. I was kind of cocky and I was like, I can do this. And you get very, excited in the beginning, you know, when you're counting days, if you count days or whatever in the very beginning, you get very excited and then you might get overexcited.
Right.
And that's what I see too with a lot of the women I work with in Slack. I'm also a support circle for I'm a coach for sobriety circle for a sober girls guide. And that's what I see a lot, where, you know, they start like saying, okay, I got this, but they don't have enough yet. And that's okay. Right. I don't expect, you know, it's most people don't say I'm never drinking again and then they're done. There's so much trial and error because you're learning something. You're going to make mistakes and that's okay. Just keep coming back, right? Keep coming back, keep showing up. And we're here for you. Okay, that strategy didn't work. Okay, let's try another strategy. Why didn't that strategy work?
Right.
Let's go back to that and play it, you know, get deep and very and just there's a better word, but I can't. Being super specific, like, okay, why, let's figure out why that did happen.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Laura, you need to unmute.
I'm trying to be so polite. As I have a dog. I have a dog.
Oh, you have a dog. Okay. Yeah.
Things are going on. But anyway,
I
so it's the biggest challenges,
What are
right?
the challenges that people run up against and the obstacles? And so why do they need a coach? Like, why can't you just quit? What's what kind of challenges are people running into that they really need that support or tools, strategy?
Right. Well, you know, some of the things I run across are people can't imagine not drinking for the rest of their life, or they can't imagine what that would look like, how everything would change. And, you know, if someone has alcoholic thinking like I do, you know, I had a crappy life, but at least it was my crappy life and my crappy ideas, you know? And I think that it's just kind of a thought pattern that needs to change and an attitude. But I know that, you know, it's that old phrase, I can't think my way into right acting. You know, I can act my way into right thinking, but my thinking, my best thinking, and I'm sure you've heard this, is what got me here, and thank God it did. But when I work with people to help them get over that challenge, the one thing, like I mentioned it before, I off the bat share with them kind of a little bit about what my story was and why I'm still sober. Like, why bother, right?
Right.
So I think it's just the thoughts that I can have in my head and some of my people do, which is, what is life going to be like without drinking? Am I going to have any fun? It's kind of what Michelle was saying, you know, what am I going to do? And it's the unknown because I've been doing the same thing for so long.
Right.
So I think with a coach who's been there, done that, and found sobriety, there's hope in that.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, and also I do find that sometimes the people that they shirk the higher power thing. And sometimes they have an idea like, oh, if it's a God thing, I'm out, you know. But I think the people that I work with, they have to want it, and they want to stay sober more than they want to drink. And that's a simple equation.
Right. Anthony, what have you found in all these of your, you know, years and years of experience? What are the greatest challenges that people encounter as they embark on this journey of sobriety?
Yeah, it's self-identity. I have to echo what all my entire panel is saying. It's really about self-identity. The individual who I love speaking to Americans. I'm a Canadian and I know it, right? But I love Americans. It's like, I have the right to drink. You know, it's my God-given patriotic duty to support well, maybe not the Labatt Company, but if you were a Canadian, you'd understand that, you know, or Coors, or, you know, you name it.
Anheuser-Busch.
All the wineries in BC. And it's almost part of the living, and it's part of the identity of what it means to be a Canadian. You drink
Oh, is
beer,
it ever?
eh?
I'm from Nova Scotia. Jeeps.
Yeah. Drink
Ooh.
beer, eh? Yeah. So now you have that juxtaposed to, well, a Canadian is someone who drinks beer and goes to hockey games. A Canadian woman is someone who drinks wine with her friends and socializes. This is the definition, by the way. And if you're not, well, what, and we get to that, that horrible abyss of.
So people don't know who they are if they're not drinking? Really? That's what you're saying?
It's the unknown. So
Unknown.
Again, as Laura said, it's the unknown. Well, if I can't be that, they think, then I have to venture into the unknown, which is kind of scary. And ultimately, that leads to the question of who am I, what am I, why am I here? It actually gets down, in my experience, it's been a while, so I've had a few minutes to think about this.
Mhm.
And I know as Laura has too, we've had some time to actually go over this. Like, what is the meaning of life anyway? Why am I here? And is it nihilism? Is it existentialism? Meaning there's no real reason to be here. It's what you think it is. You make it up anyway. Okay, so those are challenges. So solutions.
Yeah.
Identity is huge. I identify as, it can be a non-drinker for a while, at least for now, can be. It can be, or it can be an athlete. No, I don't drink. I'm an athlete. I don't drink. I'm a tech guy. I need all my marbles aligned. I don't drink. I'm a mom. I don't
Yeah.
drink. I'm a website developer. I don't drink. I'm a realtor. And it's kind of like, how does that work? Because I thought realtors, well, no, I have to be present all the time for all these clients who are drunk. And who would drive them around anyway? When they're drinking, and I got to sell them property, it's much easier to sell them property when they're drunk. You know what I mean? It's like once the person gets a real clue of the immense, actually limitless opportunities there are in identity, how they could self-identify, and then give the reason. It doesn't have to, make sense to everyone else. It just has to be a reason that people will buy and accept. I don't drink. I'm a realtor, so I don't drink. Well, why? And fill in the reason. So that was the solution to it. But the biggest challenge was really the avoidance of the eternal question. Why am I here? What am I doing?
Who am
Right?
I? Yeah.
Yeah, who am I? And it's, and that is a, unfortunately or fortunately, when one is sober, that thought comes up. And when you're drinking, hungover, stoned all the time, or most of the time, looking for your next fix of Coke, coming on, meth or whatever, or on pharma, which is probably the biggest addiction.
Right.
You don't have time to think about those things, man.
Right.
You got to go to the doctor. You got to see the dealer. You got to go to the party. There's no time for that. And
Right.
better, actually, that's better. It's
Right.
better that, dodge that bullet.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So those are the big challenges. It's like, who am I? Right? Oh, I'm a non-drinker, or now I'm a straight edge, and I'm quite happy with that title.
I find it really interesting that people that were attached actually the idea of like labels that go along with whether or not you drink alcohol. It's pretty interesting. Sam, what do you feel are the biggest challenges to being successful on the road to sobriety?
Well, for me, first, I had to understand my addiction. I had to understand that I truly was physically addicted, emotionally, spiritually, in every facet of my life, I was addicted to it. And as I talked with other individuals, it seemed, whether you want to call alcoholism, whether you want to, whatever you want to put the label on it, there seems to be an addictive, whether personality, blood type, what I don't know all of it. However, anyone that I would talk to, people in my family, some are addicted to alcohol, some aren't. And what makes each of us different? So for me, I had to really realize what my addictions were and come to terms with it. And then as I work with people that do the same thing, they appreciate the fact that I can understand. I can understand what they're going through. I've walked the same trail. And then we just go from there and talk about, is it a physical addiction? Is it thoughts? A lot of the people I work with, it really is. It's those thoughts and trying to, like Laura said, think your way out of the
Right.
addiction. And it just doesn't work.
Right.
So working with a coach to help you develop that plan of what you're going to do, and then the accountability. That's the people that I do work with. That seems to be why they work with me. It's
Right. Cool. Now I'm gonna thank you everyone for answering those questions. Now I'm gonna say to either Paul or Joe, if you guys have any questions for the panel, to fire away.
I've been sober for about 2.5 years now, and I got to be honest. I've never gone to a meeting, and never. I just quit.
You just quit.
You just quit. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
probably a lot of you in the room like should probably do some stuff. And I get that. I've got some sober friends that have walked me through it, and of course I have Sam, so that's amazing as well.
That helps. That helps.
Yeah. But it was just for me, like I just want to first of all, I'm thankful to be here to be able to listen to it, because I've never got to experience anything quite like this. And for me, it was really powerful to hear all the strategies. The Anthony made that was really funny when he said, I'm American, I need to drink all the beer. I was dying laughing because I live in a small town in South Dakota. That's it, right? That's the thing. I mean, exactly that, and it's cool.
Heroic drinking. I've seen it. I gotta tell you, I'm coming from Halifax. God.
Yeah. So I'm just very thankful. Thank you for having me here. This has been amazing. I have a lot of questions, but I don't.
You don't want to ask them right now. What about you, Paul?
I came here with an open mind, because I try to practice that as a principle. And it's a challenge because I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous for all these years. And I thought about, coaching people that didn't, it sounds like sober coaching is for people that really don't want to be part of the community of practice of one of the 12-step programs, and or it's an adjunct. But I am sponsored. I have sponsees, all that. I don't get paid for that. I do that for fun and for free. And so the challenge would be like, if you're doing something like that in addition to this, how do you treat your own? Because I would have to really focus on treating my own recovery, because it can't be, I know people that professionally work in treatment and everything, that it doesn't work unless they're also treating their own recovery. So what are you guys doing in addition to, so that you can stay stopped? That would be my question.
Michelle.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. That's a great question. So I will tell you that one of the reasons I became a sobriety coach was for that reason. So really quick. So in 2021, I got my certification and I didn't do anything with it for a while. And then I moderated my drinking for 10 months. And Jessica from A Sober Girls Guide, we had that's where I got my certification. That's how I originally started my sobriety journey. And she contacted me in March, after this past March, after I was like, okay, I'm done. And she wanted me to be a sobriety coach for her circles. And I was like, well, and so I said, oh, I just moderated, and whatever. And I had said, I'm done. And so she said, do you mind, touching back in May, touching base in May, and tell me what you think if you're still in the same spot. And then I was like, I have no choice, right? This is the reason why this is happening, right? I wanted to be a sober coach, but I didn't do anything with it. And now Jessica's asking me, and I have this great opportunity, right? And now I actually do need to do something with it. So it's a huge, that is part of what I do. I'm also part of Recovery Elevator. I also am on Instagram a lot. I'm always going to like mocktail events and breath work and anything that I'm interested in. I'm like seeking out those resources because not only are they for me, but they're for my client as well. And because I have the support circle too. So, and I know that that's the work, but to me, it's not work. And that's why I love it, because I love what I do. And I would say that would be my answer to your question. I hope that answered your question. And I'm a teacher, so yay for us, and you rock.
Anthony, you're muted.
There you go. Sorry about that. Yes,
Okay.
I noticed several questions for you, Paul, and these are touchy questions. So I will reiterate the questions as I heard them and give them back. So AA, awesome. Love people in AA, love the whole, best friends, got through the program. Oh my gosh. You're a sponsor. You do not cross coaching with sponsorship ever. It's a totally separate hat, like absolutely not. Okay. For reasons and I know very well, part of the, the traditions and so on. It's like, hey, you just don't do that. And a coach is something quite different than a sponsor. It goes through if you will, through the weeds with the individual, not as a coach in this case isn't shut up and just do the 10 reps. Okay. Not a coach. A coach in this case, and a recovery coach or a sober coach would be, what do you want to get out of these reps? What is it about, and why do you want to do reps? Why are you're choosing to do the reps? I'm not telling you to do reps. In AA, it's like, okay, we got to do step 3 and step 4 here. Okay. So we're step 4. Okay. So let's have it out, write it down first. Oh, that's not how it really goes in recovery coaching. So it's a different hat. That's probably the big thing to recognize. We're a very different hat. We're really like the guide along, the buddy along the track to get the individual successfully through whatever challenges they have, and as opposed to telling them what to do. Usually we hear from them first, and they come up with some ideas. So that was probably the big one in terms of, how does one negotiate that, and why, why pay for something that you can get for free or give away for free, right? It's quite a different. It's like, are you a teacher or are you the principal, right? If you're the principal, you have one role in a school, and if you're a teacher, you have a different role in the school, or a counselor or a tutor. A recovery coach is more like a tutor, in my opinion. I was a tutor for 5 years, so it's more of like a tutor, if we were to compare. So I hope that helps out in answering. That's the question I heard. Right.
Thank you, Anthony. Laura, you have your hand raised.
Great question, Paul. Thank you so much. Coaching versus sponsorship, I'm super clear. Like, I totally get what you're saying, because those two things for me do not cross over. That's one of the first things I tell my clients, right? And a lot of my clients do happen to want to be in a 12-step program. And there's nothing they have to do in that 12-step program. They don't have to work the steps. They don't have to work with me. But, and what I do is suggest, like we do in AA. I help them with the framework. I'm a partner with them. And I've had a client ask me, will you sponsor me? And I said, as long as we're working together, I will not sponsor you. And I keep my lines very clear. It's for people, I think, sometimes who want a little more. A lot of my clients are people who have chronically relapsed. So they want to put it on top of what they're already doing. So I'm just able to share my experience. And like I said, it's their choice either way, program, no program, coach, program, whatever the combo is to do what they're going to do. But, I think you're a teacher, you know that when a relationship develops, it sometimes just works. Sometimes it's like the secret sauce, right? So.
Thank you. You were also, did you have anything else to say, Michelle, to that? Because I saw you waving your hand.
Oh, Paul didn't get to respond, and I just wanted to also acknowledge Joe for what he said. But Paul, did you want to say anything back? So I know all three of us had said something.
No, thank you.
Okay.
This is great. There's no waste in God's economy. That's what I say. So.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
And Joe, I just wanted to address what you had said too earlier. I think it's really great. And Joe and Paul, I really appreciate, we all obviously appreciate you being here. That's awesome. And Joe, I love that, that's amazing. That's awesome. And that's your path, right? We're all on different paths. And I didn't get to say that, but we are, right? We're all on different paths. What you did not work for me. Right. But that works for you. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And I love that, Joe. And I thank you for sharing. I really do. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. Does anyone have any final words as we're coming up to the hour? No? Okay, good. I'll make the final words then. So I'll say thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for the guests as well. The reason why Lakitha, my co-leader, and what got us onto this topic is she's a diabetes coach, and I'm a wellness coach. I focus on divorce at the moment. And what we got talking about was how we were hoping for better turnout, but what we were talking about was how, even though we're in these really diverse coaching niches, she and I, alcohol has a big effect on either one of those niches. If you're a diabetic and you're an alcoholic, you're going to have a really hard time with your blood sugar control. I can't tell you how many women that I work with who are escapees from an abusive alcoholic husband, right? Very dangerous situations that they've gotten themselves out of. And I know from my own personal experience, when I used to drink a lot more, that it was also hard on my marriage, my drinking. So it's one of the things that we just feel it's a really important topic. It crosses all areas in terms of coaching, whether you're a life coach, career coach, a health coach, a diabetes coach, or a relationship coach, that alcohol is pervasive in our cultures, at least in North America and in Europe, certainly. And it affects people from younger ages than we might like to think, and can have just such an impact on people's lives on so many levels. So we just are delighted that the panelists have stepped up to do this, and that the guests have shown along, and we will be sharing this recording in the group. And best of luck to anyone who's watching with your Sober October efforts. It's a great way. I have a lot of interest and experience in the neuroscience area. We're looking at it's a pattern interrupt. So it's a chance to establish that new behavior pattern. So best wishes to everyone who's on that journey. We have 4 incredible experts here that you can call on, and their contact information I will post with the recording as well, so that it's together and doesn't get lost in the feed or whatever. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I am going to see if I can find where to stop the recording.
Melanie, we want to also give them the discount, some of us.
Oh yes, before we close up then, if you guys, well, how about this? Why don't you guys email me any
Okay, sure.
like that, and I'll post it, because people aren't here to save the chat. So I'm just going to stop the recording.